Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited secures $3 billion loan to stabilize the naira. Northern Elders Forum urges Tinubu to remove sanctions on Niger Republic. Lagos Muslim community leaders protest Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's list of commissioner nominees. And also coming up on Politics HQ tonight, 3 officials of the Democratic Republic of Congo barred from entering the United States over significant corruption cases. Deadly clashes in Libya leave 55 dead, 146 injured. Politics HQ tonight, we'll be discussing the rumored fuel pump price hike and President Tinubu's stance on maintaining the fuel subsidy removal. And my guest on the segment is Achike Chude, a public affairs analyst. Stay with us, Politics HQ. We'll be right back. As fuel marketers push for an increase in the cost of premium motor spirit, the Nigerian government has put a hold on another fuel hike. The marketers haven't taken it lightly and have kicked against the Nigerian government's stance. This has come in amid claims that the Nigerian government is considering temporarily suspending its removal of fuel subsidy to help Nigerians cope with its resultant effect of its policies. Although this is yet to be confirmed by the government, there are indications that there may be a showdown soon between the government and marketers. Tonight in Politics HQ, I have with me Achike Chude, public affairs analyst, who joins us from Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos. A warm welcome to you, Achike, and thanks for joining us in Politics HQ.
Yeah, thank you, Benga. It's a pleasure.
Now, Achike, how significant is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's commitment to maintaining the current pump price of petrol without reversing the subsidy removal? He has said that, it's not, speaking through his special advisor, he said the price is not going to go higher than its current level. So does that mean a sort of backdoor return to subsidy? Because the market forces are looking at about 720 naira per litre as the rightful cost of PMS at the petrol stations.
Well, I think the whole thing is a bit confusing because, you've already asked a few questions about the implications of that. Does it mean an end to the subsidy regime? Does it mean that the marketers wanted to hike the prices? Because if they wanted to hike the prices, that would be deliberate. That would imply that there was a deliberate attempt, or there's a deliberate attempt for them perhaps to make more money. But if it is a response to market forces, I'm not exactly sure that we should call it, or we can call it a hike in the prices. And so is it significant? I'm not sure it is. I'm not exactly sure that it is significant, because already people are facing the burden of the removal of subsidy in the first instance. And what Nigerians have been saying, looking at the unprecedented suffering in the land, the increase in prices of basic commodities, the rises in inflation. Inflation has unprecedentedly gotten to about 2.24, point something, percent. This is unprecedented in the history of this, country, and so the president says he's not going to allow an increase in the pump price of fuel. So does that mean exactly that the president, that Nigeria will be paying for the differential? Differential, again, is a subsidy. If from what everything they have said about subsidy. But then the question you ask yourself is, why are the marketers kicking also? If it's about the laws of demand and supply, then obviously the marketers, if they do not have the money or the means to bring in these products into the country, and then they will not be forced to bring them in. And so if they don't bring them in, they don't lose money in the process. So if they insist that they are still going to bring the products in, but at their own price, the federal government has said it's not going to allow any increase in price. And so that does not do anything positive for the people, in the sense that the people are already suffering from the removal of subsidy in the first place. Any other increase, obviously, is something the government is afraid will be met with a lot of resistance. And I'm sure that the government is feeling the vibes
the heat
from the Nigerian people. Yeah, they're really feeling the heat. And I think that it is the heat that they are responding to. And you know, it could get to a level where you're going to have, when people themselves are going to respond in ways that the government might not like. Well, you know, when the people can no longer tolerate, because it's about the politicians or the elites have said, bear the pain. It's only for a period of time. But this is not about bearing pain. This is a pain that leads to death, because a lot of people are dying, you know, by not eating properly. A lot of them are malnourished, you know, and so there are all kinds of issues. And then and if it is again about the government paying the differential between the cost of these products when they come in, and then the extra that the marketer should have asked for people to pay, and the government says, don't pay it.
We'll take care of
means
it.
that somebody has to bear responsibility. Is the government going to bear responsibility? If the government is going to bear responsibility, then it means that after the removal of subsidy, now we're being told that some form of subsidy will be paid. Where is that money going to come from? Again, a government that has to borrow about 500 billion naira for the purpose of, you know, palliatives. Where are they now going to get the extra money to be able to pay the differential for this subsidy that they are going to be, you know, paying? So it's you know, a mixed bag, and I think it's confusing at this particular point in time. But I think if I have, you know, if I can, you know, say something, I think that is the fact that the government did not think out this matter well from the very beginning. Of course, you know, everything, all the blame really would lie squarely with the president, whom were told that his party had provided for a phased withdrawal of subsidy, not removal of subsidy in one fell swoop. And I think that that was a major mistake that the president made, and that he's looking for a way to recover from.
Yes, Chike Chude did, and it's the recovery that has led to this policy of, you know, maintaining the status quo, saying, you know, the government, the prices are not going to go any higher because Nigerians are already paying more than they can afford. You also mentioned the fact that the government is responding to this so as to dissuade the people from responding in their own way. And talking about the people's response, Achike, you're a Labour man, you're a member of the Joint Action Front. What's your take on Nigerian Congress, the Nigerian Labour Congress's stance on potential economic shutdown in response to rumoured fuel price increases? When the initial subsidy was removed, we did see a series of meetings and also threats from the NLC. NLC. Now, my question is, what underlying factors might be contributing to the concerns, and how does this reflect the broader sentiment within the country? Is the NLC on the side of the people?
Yes, I think, you know, the NLC immediately this when the subsidy was, you know, removal was announced by the president, the NLC obviously wanted to do something, wanted to hit the streets. But a series of moves by the government actually curtailed their inability, that is NLC and the TUC, to be able to do anything. Obviously, there was some subtle blackmail, and the government was very new. And so when a government comes into power for the very first time, it has a lot of goodwill. And I think that the government had some level of goodwill as at the time it came to power. Of course, don't forget that it is the government came to power on the back of a contentious election. But regardless of that, once the government is sworn in, even those who opposed that the government during the election are forced to, some of them are forced to put aside their differences and hope that the government will be able to, you know, perform well. Because of course, if the government performs well, everybody benefits from it. And so that was one of the things. So it became difficult. Don't forget that when Muhammadu Buhari came to power in 2015, one of the first things he did again was the removal of the fuel subsidy by an unprecedented, you know, about 80% or so. Now, the NLC and Labour wanted, and civil society, you know, protested. but did not get the support of the people because they said, look, the government is new, why not give them an opportunity? And I think that was what led to the failure of the NLC Labour-inspired protest when it was removed by President Bola Tinubu because of that immediate,
the goodwill and the honeymoon period.
But subsequently, yes, exactly. It was also the honeymoon period. But honeymoon periods tend to last about 1 year or so. But of course, because of the unprecedented damage that was done by the previous administration, the APC government of Muhammadu Buhari, the honeymoon period has been cut for this administration to something I would say about maybe 3 months or to maximum 6 months. But unfortunately, one of the first things the government did to wallow in controversy, the controversy of the fuel subsidy. Then immediately after that, there were other controversies, that came in. And then, of course, this planned invasion of Niger as a result of the coup. So you now have a government that has been, getting itself into needless controversies, and that is not good for it. And that, in a way, strengthened Labour. The very last, protest that Labour did over the cost of living about a few weeks ago had unprecedented success virtually all over the country. So that recovered, as a result of that, Labour recovered from the ignominy, of the failure of the first action that they planned. So in a way, Labour has been strengthened, and Labour is in a better position now to call Nigerians out for another protest if it is necessary. But beyond that, again, is that Labour feels let down by the fact that the government has promised to look at the issue of increase in the salary of members of Labour, or of civil servants all over the country and all that. But unfortunately, the government has not been able to live up to its promise. So that puts pressure on the leadership of Labour, because the issue is, what exactly have you gotten for us? There's nothing to show for it. With increasing or burgeoning inflation hitting the roofs, and the cost of living being exceedingly very difficult, and palliative not anywhere to be found from the federal government. So it becomes, Labour is now under pressure from even the membership of Labour to do something in response to the difficulty that Nigerians are facing. So I think that, all of this is happening on the basis, in the context of the very difficult challenges that Nigerians are facing today.
Okay. Now, Chike, considering the challenges faced by importers in accessing US dollars and its impact on the removal of fuel subsidy for premium motor spirit petrol, could you elaborate on the specific mechanisms through which Forex rates influence fuel prices and how this interplay might shape the future course of action? What's the connection?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, most unfortunately, over the years, I think bad governance has cost us so much. If you look at the issue of, the discovery of oil, a lot of Nigerians, rejoiced at it because it was like a Dorado, the way to development and progress in Nigeria. But unfortunately, it has become, it long became a cost to Nigeria. The black gold, oil itself has become a cost, because every other thing that has led to Nigeria being where it is today has been as a result of the corruption within the system, and the inefficiencies in the oil industry. And of course, it is something not, I wouldn't say it's exactly unique to Nigeria, but if you look at other countries that have benefited from, the discovery of oil, Saudi Arabia, especially the Middle Eastern countries, and some of Saudi Arabia notably, and some other countries too, who have been able to do wonderful things with the oil, with the discovery of oil, and have been able to build their economies. Now we cannot, talk about. The issue of foreign exchange dependency by Nigeria is very clear. Nigeria does not have productive industry. And we used to do better at least 20, 25 years ago in terms of industrialization. But virtually most of the country, industries like the plastic industry, the rubber industry that we had in the country, and so many other industries have closed down for a very long time. So Nigeria has continued, just like most of Africa, has continued to export its raw materials out of the country and then bring in, buy finished products. Of course, the raw materials, the implication. The prices are set at the international market as a result of the, trade agreements, WTO, which has been skewed against, African and Latin American countries. And so, but when some of these products that are subject to international pricing mechanisms, with very low prices are fixed, and then they are taken to Europe, their value is added to these products and they are brought in this time around, not subject to international pricing mechanism, and prices are fixed by those other companies.
Chike, I
wanted,
wanted, yes.
suffers double jeopardy. So now you're looking at the issue of the foreign exchange. I mean, the fact that Nigeria is not a productive economy has put pressure on our foreign exchange. The fact that we have to import crude oil, refined crude oil into the country has also put very severe stress on our foreign exchange component. And so that leads to anytime there's a variation in the price of in the value of the naira, vis-a-vis the naira dollar exchange rate, when Nigeria suffers the pressure, and this pressure is felt again in some of those things that are brought into the country that are imported, and so that is why the price of crude oil, the price of refined petroleum products is subject to this, variation. And so each time there's an increase, a devaluation in our naira, it puts pressure, on the country's currency, and we have to pay much more. And so there's a possibility, if care is not taken, that we might end up, as long as nothing is done to shore up the value of the naira, we might end up getting to a level, a situation where we have to pay 1,000 naira, for a liter of petroleum product, and that is absolutely not impossible. For as long as it is dependent on the vagaries of the international, market, we are going to continue to be at the receiving end, and that is why these things continue to go up. But people have said that there is no place, there is no country in the world where you allow your currency to float freely without any form of intervention from the government. The great countries of the world, even with better economies, have had to intervene once in a while. I remember the United States.
Permit me to interrupt you here. I just want to touch on this subject, and I'm happy you mentioned these products that are subject to international pricing mechanisms. Nigeria is almost a monoproduct economy, and we're dependent. The crude oil is the golden goose. Just speaking recently during Galali, one of the president's spokespersons, I did say that, even if you have the Dangote refinery online and all of Nigeria's 4 refineries online, it's not going to bring down the price of PMS because it's subject to international pricing mechanisms. Now, Chike, with all of 4 Nigeria's refineries currently non-operational, resulting in a heavy reliance, on fuel imports, what strategic measures do you think the government should consider to revitalize these refineries and enhance the nation's self-sufficiency in petroleum production? Are there any benefits that will accrue to the nation if our refineries were operational? There's word that there's currently turnaround maintenance ongoing on the Port Harcourt refinery.
Look, of course, that statement from the president's spokesperson, I think, has created a lot of controversy, obviously, because if you look at it deeply, it does not make sense. I don't know what his barometer is in arriving at that conclusion, that even if the refineries are working, that it is not going to make any significant difference. And that is a very strange one, to hear. Because for years, arguments have been from everybody in Nigeria, captains of industry, the chambers of commerce and industry, NASIMA, and bank executives, and so many other people, in the private sector and in the public sector, have always said that the key to stopping these incessant arbitrary increases in the prices of the pump price of fuel is in the revitalization of the country's refineries. And so for somebody to come in after 20 years of the same discussion, without anybody countering it, and somebody now comes in to make a contrary statement the way he did, like he did, I think, flies against the face of reason. And he seems to be speaking, on behalf of marketers, because I don't understand that even if you fix, and I think that what he was trying to do, or what he's trying to do, is to provide excuses, a basis for why the refineries will not work or should not be made to work. And that is strange, because this argument has not been made by anybody since this debate has started. Of course, we know that there are certain benefits from having,
saving our hard-earned forex is one of them, and of course, the landing costs should make a difference. Yes. And of course, job creations too, and the entire value chain of the refineries.
Of course, absolutely. First of all of the monies that are going out for the purpose of importing this will be saved. So you're not going to put the kind of pressure, the Naira will not be under the kind of pressure that it has been all this while because of our complete reliance on imported, refined petroleum products. That's one. And then, of course, there are other costs, costs that have to be factored. The landing cost, the cost, for taking it, bridging costs, and all that you have to pay when these products land into the country, and then you take it to other parts of the country. All of those things will be sorted out, to a very reasonable, extent. So there is no way we're not going to have a significant reduction in the price of this product, because we are producing it in the country, and then we are not producing it in order to make absolute profit, because there must be a benefit to the people that they are producing something that is endemic to us, something from
now, Chike, there's another.
So there must be some obvious benefits. Yes.
There's another point I want to raise here, because in a jury's speech, when he was speaking to members of the press about this issue, he did reel out he did bring out some data and said, Nigerians are paying one of the cheapest rates for PMS in the West Africa sub-region. Senegal, as we speak, pays about 1,200 naira for a litre. Is this something we should be thankful for, that we're not hitting those levels yet, or maybe we're just too reliant on subsidy and we want to cheap?
I'm not sure that is a very fair characterization of the situation, and I don't think that is a very responsible statement. This is my own opinion, in the sense that
why do you say so?
We own this product. We own this product, and there must be some benefit to it. It is not a crime, for us to be beneficiaries of a product that we have. Senegal does not own the product, and so there are all kinds of disadvantages. By the time these things land in Senegal, the cost differences will be much higher. The costing will be much higher. But beyond that, again, is that for him to do, you talked about the data that he was providing. Did he provide, data also for the cost of living in Senegal? Did he provide data for the,
minimum wage,
purchasing power parity? Yeah, for the purchasing parity, power parity, purchasing power parity in those countries. Did he do that? Did he look at the minimum wage in those countries? Was he able to do a comparative analysis of the differences? We had also these instances where people were saying that in the United States, that petroleum products are far cheaper than what we have in Nigeria and the rest. And then you look at the cost of living in the United States. It's as if it's a paradise, even in spite of the cost of gasoline in those places. So how can anybody at this particular point in time be using this as an indices, as a data? After all, they told us they had told us that the solution is the removal of subsidy. Now they have removed subsidy, and they are saying, well, that it is still cheaper in Senegal and in some other Mali, some other parts of the world. And what is the benefit of the fact of the fact that this product is endemic to Nigeria and that we are producing this product? It doesn't make sense, and I think that it's an unfortunate statement, but a very dangerous statement, because it's a statement, and I hope that this statement is a statement that only he, is making, and that it is something that only he believes. Because if you have certain, people from government, if he's speaking on behalf of other, critical people in government, then it means that we're in danger. Because once the refineries fail to work, just as they have promised us, then they're going to use it as an excuse that after all, even if the refineries work, we're not going to get any reasonable benefit from it. So the refineries might as well remain dead. I think that's a very dangerous statement. And I hope it's not making that statement to prepare Nigerians for the inevitability of the refineries not working, because Nigerians are not going to take it lightly. I am very sure of that. They have trumpeted the refineries as a basis for why, that once the refineries begin to work, that the prices of this commodity will go down. And that is what we expect, not the excuses that Ngelari is giving. But even beyond that, I will take what he says with a pinch of salt, because during the last administration, he was very much, he was a spokesman of the last president, Muhammad Buhari. And I remember what he was trying to do in concert with the government with regards to housing, and was telling Nigerians to make contributions once more to the housing scheme in this country, because now they have a revolutionary approach to the problem of housing. And that in a matter of time, you are going to see houses taken out all over the country.
Thank you.
I knew it wasn't going to work, and we have not seen anything. So, and the same person is coming to tell us something else.
Thank you very much, Chike Chude, as always. I wish we had more time, because there's still quite a lot to unpack on this issue. But I look forward to speaking with you in the nearest future. Thank you, Chike Chude, for your insights and your contribution. Thank you.
Yeah.